This is When You Were Everything, chapter How It Feels to Break, pages 194 to 200. This is a long one. If you need to take a break, please do. How It Feels to Break. I follow Dom to the front of the restaurant, where I'll spend most of my time. He says hi to a few regulars at the counter, and then shows me the seating chart for the diner's 10 tables. He introduces me to the only other server they have left on shift today. Business has been a little slow lately, he tells me when we walk past the back windows. He points across the street, where a new gourmet burger place is opened and a trendy tapas restaurant that only serves small Spanish-inspired plates and expensive cocktails. There's construction on a corner opposite Dolly's that Dom points out, too. That place is going to do ramen, he says, and there's a darkness to his voice that I'm not used to hearing. I want to get back to where we were at the table, winks and grins and giggles, him reaching out to lower my hand. Do you think Pop would be cool with me only working a couple days a week? I mean, we had no one, so I'm sure any help will be cool with him. What are you doing the other days? Tutoring, remember? I say, hoping Dom will leave it at that. I didn't mean to bring up Layla, not here, where everything has been making me smile. I look at the corner table where Layla and I used to sit, and I feel that particular hurt that only comes from falling unexpectedly into the past. Sometimes memories are trapdoors. Right, man, I thought Novak was chill, he says. What do you mean? I mean, she assigned you to Layla. She knows you're not cool with her anymore, right? Sort of. But I think she thinks it will be good for me, you know? I twist one of my braids around my finger. She couldn't just give me someone I wanted to tutor when making me do it in the first place was punishment for skipping. Dom grins and raises his eyebrows, like something is dawning on him. Oh, snap. Is that why you said my name all loud in class? I cover my face, but when Dom laughs, I feel like the embarrassment in that moment was worth it for this one. It's not funny, I say, slapping his chest. He catches my hand and holds it, and when I look up at his smiling face, he licks his lips and looks down at mine. I pull my hand away to take off my glasses. I busy myself cleaning the lenses with the hem of my shirt. My bad, he says. If I gave you the impression that I needed a ton of help, I mostly just wanted an excuse to hang out with you. He says this so easily, like it isn't the kind of thing people are usually afraid to admit. I mean, I just did the same thing asking Pop to be their part-time, semi-volunteer hostess, but I wouldn't have been able to say it the way he did. I blush and look away from him at a portrait of an otherworldly Ella Fitzgerald in a long, sparkling dress on a seashell, a gorgeous reinterpretation of The Birth of Venus on the far right wall. Where does all this art come from, I ask, to talk about anything other than us? Dom covers his mouth and yawns. His eyelids look heavy, but he steps in front of me and clears his throat. Different artists in the neighborhood mostly, sometimes homeless kids. Lolly volunteers and started an art program that they run at this shelter in Bushwick on the weekends. We rotate the exhibit, as Lolly calls it, every month or so. She picks the art, he says. That's so cool, I say. There are small price tags beneath the paintings with the artist's name and age. Ella was painted by a 16-year-old named Raymond Poole, and I wonder how someone with so much talent, who's the same age as me, could end up on the streets. I cross my fingers behind my back, hoping against hope that someone buys his paintings and that it helps his situation, however little. We pass through the too-warm kitchen, turn a corner, and enter a room only a little bigger than a supply closet. Dom flips a switch and a tiny break room is thrown into harsh, fluorescent light. So, what happened to you two? Dom asks. Me and Layla? I say, though I know that's who he means. Dom yawns again and pours himself a cup of coffee, then lifts the pot and offers me some. I shake my head. I'm more of a tea drinker, I tell him. I think I knew that, he says, putting the coffee pot back down and reaching into the mini-fridge. He offers a bottle of water instead, and I take it. He doesn't repeat his question about me and Layla, but he looks at me, expectantly. Lots of things, I finally say. We crumbled, or unraveled, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. I take a sip of my water. The hurt feels so much like when my parents decided they didn't love each other anymore that I can feel a shift in my breathing. We broke up. Tom snorts. It's not like it was a relationship, he says, and I frown, annoyed at his reaction. Perhaps he doesn't know how it feels to break up in this particular way. Or perhaps it's different for boys, but girls cling to their friends for dear life as they wade through the rough waters of learning who they are, while everything around and inside them is changing minute by minute. And aren't we all a little bit in love with our best friends? What would you call it then, I say. I don't keep the sass out of my voice. If it is, Dom says slowly, realizing that I'm angry, can you guys come back together? I shake my head. I thought we could, but that ship has sailed, I say. Some ugly stuff went down last year. Dom says, the Cleo I know wouldn't give up on someone so easily. Guess you don't know me as well as you think then, I say. I take a long pull from my water bottle, and when I put it back down on the table, I see Dom watching me in that quiet way of his. I feel my eyes trace the line of his collarbone. He takes a deep breath, and the hollows in his throat deepens. He's about to speak, but I beat him to it. Tell me more about Dolly's, I say, desperate to talk about something, anything else. When did it open? How long have you been helping out? What's your favorite thing to cook? For the next 20 minutes, Dom tells me more about Dolly's than I expected him to know. He tells me Pop and Miss Dolly were able to open it with the money they had saved up and a loan from the bank. Pop had to have one of his white friends co-sign with him on the loan because the bank didn't trust a young black couple to make the required monthly payments in the 70s. He tells me that opening a bakery had been his Lolly's dream, but a burger joint had been Pop's, so they compromised. And that Pop proposed to Miss Dolly by slipping a key ring with a key to this place around her finger instead of a diamond. Pop loves being front of house, but he's super talented in the kitchen, too. If he'd been born at a different time, Dom says, or maybe in a different world, he'd be the star of his own cooking show, no question. That's why Dom started in the kitchen, to give Pop a chance to have more FaceTime with customers. And that's how he fell in love with cooking, experimenting with new recipes and learning the ropes from Pop well enough that he could cover for him whenever they needed him to. I love the heat, the pressure to perform, the way one decision can change the whole course of a meal, table, or even the whole service. He moves his hands around a lot as he tells me all of this, and hearing him talk about this is better than any magic trick. That's why I want to add new stuff to the menu. I'm worried that we won't be able to keep up with the competition. The regulars, they're all getting old, and the new people in the neighborhood are just hipsters and like white rich kids who just graduated college, I nod, because it's impossible not to notice the shifts happening in our neighborhood, the way it doesn't look the same anymore. There are more coffee shops than bodegas, more noodle and cocktail bars than places like Dolly's. I don't want this place to get lost, Dom says, his voice a little quieter than it was before. He takes another sip of his coffee and looks at me like he's making a decision. And when he starts talking again, I can tell he's decided to trust me with something precious to him. Lolly and Pop are already having trouble keeping up with the bills. That's why we don't have a hostess anymore. That's why we're down to only 2 servers. I didn't realize, I say softly, and I want to reach across the table and touch his hand. He nods solemnly, and his eyes are on fire as he says what he says next. They've done everything for me at Cleo, everything. Keeping this place afloat is the least I can do. I think about his paper and how he was so adamant or sure about Macbeth deciding his own fate. He wants to do everything he can for this place, and he's worried it won't be enough. I follow Dom's sleepy eyes as they look down to check the time on his phone. Oh no, it's time to close up. He stands and dumps his empty mug into the small sink. He yawns again and stretches, and I want him to lay his heavy, sleepy head on my shoulder. I want to put his worries to bed along with him. I can walk you out, he says, but I don't know how he could think I'm ready to say goodbye. I check my phone. There's nothing from Mom, and the lack of notifications feels like a sign. You're tired, I say, and there's only a few people still here, right? So, Dom says, so I can stick around and help, I say. I mean, only if you want. I'm meeting Sydney later, but I have some time to kill. Dom bites his bottom lip, rubs his hands over his hair, and grins.